In 2016, hackers nearly stole $1 billion from Bangladesh's central bank without setting foot inside. It all started with a single email, but a tiny typo changed everything. How did they pull it off? And what happened to the missing millions? Stay tuned as we unravel one of the most daring cyber heists in history. To understand how the Lazarus group pulled off this heist, we need to go back months before the attack. Unlike traditional bank robbers, these hackers didn't need to storm a vault with guns. Instead, they played the long game. They started by sending out phishing emails to employees at the Bangladesh Central Bank. One of these emails contained malware, and unfortunately for the bank, someone clicked it. That was all it took. The malware quietly worked its way into the bank's internal network. For months, it remained undetected, allowing the hackers to study how transactions were processed. They observed how the bank communicated with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where Bangladesh kept billions of dollars in reserves. The attackers even managed to gain access to the bank's SWIFT system, the messaging network that banks use to send payment instructions. SWIFT is supposed to be impenetrable, trusted by nearly every major financial institution worldwide. But the Lazarus group proved that no system is truly safe. The perfect moment. By early February, the hackers were ready to strike. They had planned everything down to the smallest detail. February 4th, 2016, was a Thursday, the last working day of the week in Bangladesh before the Friday-Saturday weekend. The bank would be operating with minimal staff, meaning fewer eyes on the system. Late that night, the hackers logged into the Bangladesh Bank's SWIFT terminal. Using the bank's own credentials, they began issuing transfer requests to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. These weren't small amounts. This was a full-scale digital bank robbery. They sent 35 transfer requests, totaling a staggering $951 million, directing the funds to accounts they had set up in Sri Lanka and the Philippines. On the receiving end, everything seemed legitimate. The transfer requests were formatted correctly, used valid credentials, and appeared to be coming from an authorized source. The New York Fed, responsible for processing these transactions, began executing the payments. Had all the requests gone through, this would have been the biggest bank heist in history. But fate had other plans. A typo that saved $850 million. In what can only be described as sheer luck, one of the transfer requests included a small but crucial mistake. The hackers had ordered a $20 million transfer to a fake NGO account in Sri Lanka, but instead of writing Shalika Foundation, they mistakenly entered Shalika Foundation. This minor misspelling raised a red flag at Deutsche Bank, which was involved in routing the payment. They reached out for verification, which led to further scrutiny. At the same time, another transaction was flagged because it contained the word Jupiter, which happened to be on a sanctions watch list due to its association with North Korea. These small errors triggered a chain reaction. Suspicion spread, and by the time the weekend was over, officials at the Bangladesh Bank discovered what was happening. In a panic, they contacted the New York Fed to halt the remaining transactions. But by then, $81 million had already vanished. The rest of the heist had been stopped just in time. Money laundering in the Philippines. So where did the stolen money go? The hackers had set up accounts in the Philippines, where banking regulations were more relaxed. The money was deposited into accounts under fake identities and then quickly moved to local casinos. The reason? Casinos in the Philippines were exempt from strict anti-money laundering laws at the time, making them the perfect place to clean dirty money. The funds were converted into chips, gambled, and later cashed out, leaving behind almost no trace. Authorities tried to track the money, but much of it was already gone. Despite their best efforts, investigators only managed to recover about $15 million. The remaining $66 million? Lost forever in the underground financial networks of the criminal world, destroying evidence. As investigators scrambled to understand what had happened, they ran into another problem. There was barely any forensic evidence left. The hackers had used a malware program called Wiper to erase their tracks. This malware did more than just delete files. It disabled security logs, destroyed transaction records, and even stopped bank printers from working. This meant that when employees at Bangladesh Bank came in on Monday morning, they had no printed alerts, no transaction logs, and no idea that they had just been robbed. It took several more hours before they realized the scale of the attack, and by then, it was too late. The money was gone, and the hackers had vanished without a trace. Who were the hackers? It didn't take long for cybersecurity experts to link the attack to a notorious hacking group known as Lazarus. This group, believed to be backed by North Korea, had a history of cybercrimes. They were also behind the Sony Pictures hack of 2014, which was in retaliation for the satirical film The Interview. Many experts believe that this heist was part of a larger effort by North Korea to fund its operations. With international sanctions restricting the country's access to financial resources, hacking became a way to steal the money they couldn't obtain legally. Despite international investigations, no one has been arrested for the Bangladesh Bank heist. The Lazarus Group remains active, linked to other cyber attacks, ransomware campaigns, and cryptocurrency thefts in the years since. The fallout. Lessons learned. This heist was a wake-up call for the global financial system. The fact that a few hackers with nothing but malware and stolen credentials could nearly steal $1 billion shook the banking world to its core. In response, SWIFT strengthened its security measures, banks improved their fraud detection systems, and international financial institutions became more cautious about cybersecurity. But here's the scary part. Cyber heists like this are still happening. Hackers continue to evolve, using new techniques to exploit weaknesses in banking networks, cryptocurrency exchanges, and corporate systems. Could this happen again? Absolutely. In fact, experts warn that cybercrime is only getting more sophisticated. The rise of artificial intelligence, deepfake technology, and decentralized finance could open new vulnerabilities for hackers to exploit. The Bangladesh Bank heist is proof that in the digital world, the biggest threats don't come from armed robbers or elaborate break-ins. Instead, they come from a single phishing email, a few lines of malicious code, and a poorly secured system. So, how do you stay safe? Start with the basics. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication. That's the wild story of the Bangladesh Bank heist, a near billion-dollar robbery stopped by a simple typo. What's the craziest cyber heist you've heard of? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Crazy Cyber Stories for more jaw-dropping tales of digital crime. Next time, we're diving into a hack so powerful it took down an entire country. Don't miss it.